Well, finally. I know I made a video probably like 2 or so weeks ago saying that I was going to be waiting to review it and to play it until the technical issues had been sorted out. And lo and behold, a couple weeks later, the technical issues have indeed been sorted out. The stuttering on PC has been removed, a ton of glitches have been removed, and there was also the first quality of life update. I'm recording this on the 21st, so we just got an update on the 16th that added faster healing and faster weapon swap speed. So I played the entirety of the game on that patch and didn't experience any sort of technical difficulties or anything like that. So let's get into the review. I'm going to give you my pros, my cons, and then I'll give you the final rating. So the game took me about 10 hours to complete, and I played through on normal mode and was really taking my time exploring all the side stuff. So yeah, let's get into the pros. First things first, I think just objectively every single person can agree that this game is phenomenal looking. The graphics on display here are truly out of this world. It's in many ways a graphics showcase, funny enough. I had just played Plague Tale Requiem, and I'm on record for saying that's the best environments I've ever seen in a game. And I still think the environments in Plague Tale Requiem beat the environments in this game, but the faces and the character models in this game are above Red Dead 2, they're above Last of Us 2, they're above Plague Tale. They are next level. The faces and character models and enemy models are just incredibly good looking in this game. By far the best I've seen in any game. Unfortunately, I couldn't play with ray tracing on. I'd love to see the game with ray tracing because I'm sure it would be even more beautiful. But as of right now, it still does not have the CPU optimization, so ray tracing is just impossible no matter what your build is, because the game is essentially running on 2 cores of your CPU, which is a bit of a bummer. But played through with everything on high other than that, and it looked just phenomenal. And it runs fantastic. I didn't have any stutters whatsoever, and the game ran at a pretty solid 90 to 100 FPS in 1440p. So that's really nice. It was a really smooth experience. I ended up just capping my refresh rate at 85 hertz, so that way I couldn't see any of the FPS deviations, and it played fantastic and looked fantastic as well. The sound design in this game is also great. Everything from the creepy little monster sounds and the skittering and vents and stuff like that to the actual voice acting, I thought was all really, really good. And I think that whatever Kimiko is, I only know her from The Boys, but she does a great job. And I think Jacob, I don't know the actor's name that plays him, but he also does a fantastic job. And it might just be because the faces look so goddamn good, but it's almost a lifelike. It's like you're watching an actor, like it's a lifelike performance. It's almost a little uncanny valley, like how good it looks in this game. You're at certain points, I was like, dude, this is like I'm actually just watching a live action TV show or movie. It's crazy good looking. But the sound is fantastic. I also think the soundtrack, while muddled, it doesn't play a ton. There's only a couple moments that it plays, but when it does play, it's really, really good. Oh, and speaking of that, I should probably turn it down a little bit for you guys. So I think the sound all around is fantastic. Let's get into the big thing, the gameplay. Now, it's almost as if there was some sort of smear campaign done for this game, because when it came out, there was just such a blast of negativity, even past the technical difficulties, right? Yes, the ray trace reflections were missing from Xbox. Yes, the game was buggy. Yes, the game suffered from serious shader compilation and stutter issues. Absolutely. But even past that, if you look at like people playing the PS5 version, which ran completely fine, there was almost a smear campaign. People were just saying things that were objectively false, like they were lying about the game. I can confirm to you, having played it now, that Like, one of the big complaints is people were saying it's incredibly linear. There's no side paths at all, and you're just going hallway to hallway to hallway. That's just false. That's a straight out lie. There are many, many side paths. In fact, one of the problems I have with the game is actually that because there's no locator like there is in Dead Space, you often don't know what the main path is and what the side path is, and sometimes that can cause you to completely miss out on a side path because you accidentally went the main way and then a door closes behind you or something like that. But that problem only exists because there are, yes, indeed, side paths, and you can find things such as schematics down these side paths that will unlock new weapons. You can find resources that are going to be absolutely essential to your survival. You'll find treasures that you can sell for extra money so that you can buy more upgrades or resources or whatever you want to spend your money on. So there is absolutely side paths in the game, and I would actually say that there's more side paths in this game than there is in Dead Space 1 and 2. And this is coming from somebody that has over 800 hours in Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. I've read all of the Dead Space novels, even. I've played the shitty stationary point-and-click shooter Dead Space game. You would be really hard-pressed to find somebody that's a bigger Dead Space fan than me. I mean, I genuinely love Dead Space 1 and 2 to bits, man. And I love that world in that universe, and I know more about it than almost every single human being out there. So I've played these games a ton, and I can tell you that there's more side path shit in this game than there is in Dead Space 1 and 2. In Dead Space 1 and 2, it's entirely linear, corridor-based, just like people say about this game, except the only deviance from that is power node doors. That's it. It wasn't until Dead Space 3 that they started adding side missions and a lot more, open zone type stuff. But Dead Space 3 also has the side effect of sucking massive fat ball sack. So we don't even talk about that game. Get that game out of here. We're not comparing this game to Dead Space 3, okay? We're comparing it to 1 and 2. And it has a lot more, long side paths. A lot of the times I was like, this side path is so long, I would then backtrack because I'm like, I think this is the main path. This path is way too long to be a side path. And nope, it was a side path. So there is long stretches that are dedicated to side paths that you can take. And I got pretty goddamn close to 100%ing this game. I think I literally missed like one audio log throughout the entire game. So yeah, I actually really liked the fact that there's side paths, there's secrets. The secrets are not nearly as compelling. I'll level with you. They're not nearly as compelling as, say, a Dead Space or something like that, because there's not as many like schematics to unlock as there is in Dead Space. And there's not really the power node aspect like there is in Dead Space, because all the upgrades are just money. But there's a lot of side paths throughout the game. So saying that there isn't is just objectively false. And the actual gameplay itself, I see people very mixed on. For me, it's a positive. And I see a lot of people saying that, oh, I don't like the melee system, or it's too hard. A lot of people saying this game is too hard. They're saying that the dodge system is finicky. It's not. All of those problems that people are having is just straight up skill issues. And I hate to be that person because I'm usually not. Even though I do challenge runs in games and I play them on the hardest difficulty and I make them even harder than even feasibly necessary, right? Even though I do that stuff, I try to not be like you guys just suck at the game type of thing, right? Get good type of mentality. But this is actually just a get good mentality skill issue type of scenario, because the dodging is not hard and it's not finicky. Essentially, on mouse and keyboard, you hold either A or D, your left or your right, and then you wait for them to attack. He will then dodge. Then you just hold the other direction and they will attack. If they attack again, he will dodge. And all you have to do is just alternate like that. There's no timing necessary. It's just as long as you're holding A or D, you will dodge the attack. 100% guaranteed. You can also, if that is too much for your brain to handle, if you're one of these pea-brained reviewers that apparently cannot dodge, then you can hold S, you can hold back, and you'll just block, and you'll take reduced damage. And then you can, of course, unlock skills that will allow you to not parry, but do a counterattack after blocking and have even more damage mitigation on your block. So if you really suck balls at the dodging, which in my opinion is very easy, actually I think objectively it's very easy. There's no timing required or anything. All you have to do is know to fucking swap buttons. That's it. You just have to swap buttons, man. And on a stick, I haven't played it on a stick, but on the sticks, I'm sure you just left, right, or right, left. You don't even, I thought that you had to look, and if they're attacking left, you had to move right. You don't even have to do that. It literally does not matter which direction you're pushing, as long as you're pushing in a direction when they attack you. That's it. It's genuinely so easy. So the people complaining about that is a pure skill issue. And once you get in the groove of things, once you get in the groove of dodge, dodge, attack, 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 maybe shoot, dodge, 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 heavy attack, you know, once you're fighting like 4 or 5 dudes at the same time and you're perfectly dodging all of these attacks and you're countering and stuff, it feels fantastic. There's a high skill curve there, and you can really juggle a lot of enemies. I do strongly recommend that if you're going to be utilizing the melee combat a lot, get the skill that gives you a heavy attack, because that has a cone, so you can hit multiple enemies with that if there's a bunch of them. But most importantly, it acts as CC, so you can hit one enemy away from you, and now you're just focusing on one guy. You know, if it's 2 dudes on you, giggity. Or if there's 3 dudes, now you're fighting 2, right? So you can isolate enemies by utilizing that. You can also isolate enemies utilizing the grip, which is essentially kinesis, except souped up. So now you can grab entire enemies, you can throw them into other enemies and do some damage and stun both of them. You can throw them into the numerous environmental hazards that are in the levels that are fairly well constructed, and that will give you an instant kill. And or you can just throw them off of ledges. That'll oftentimes kill them or stun them, or at least separate them from the pack to allow you to, you know, focus on the other enemies. And you can even grab them and use them as human shields against ranged enemies and stuff like that. Get them to attack each other. All of the tools that the game gives you, I think, are done really, really well. If anything, I think the game is almost a little bit too easy instead of too hard. Of course, I haven't played on hard mode yet, but having the ability to just grab any enemy that isn't a boss enemy and instantly kill them by throwing them into a fan or a grinder or some spikes, and the spikes especially are littered in almost every single combat encounter area in the game. So the ability to just grab any enemy and instantly kill them, mixed with the fact that you can upgrade to have like 5 or 6 uses of grip before you're out of charges, is extremely strong. It means that you can just instant kill 5 or 6 enemies right out the gate in a combat encounter. The spikes and stuff, they don't have a number of uses, so I would like to see that maybe balanced a little bit. Maybe you can only use one spike wall one time, and then you have to, you know, throw them on a different spike wall, or you throw them into a grinder, and now you can't throw them into the grinder anymore because it stops. Something like that. But there's always the counter argument that if it's too easy and you feel it's too easy, just don't use it, right? Same thing I said in my Plague Tale Requiem review. If it's too easy because of the tools that they give you, just don't use them. And I feel like this game has a lot in common with Ghost of Tsushima combat as a result, because in Ghost of Tsushima, I felt like even on the hardest difficulty, the game was criminally easy. Because if you utilized all of the tools that they gave you, and they gave you so many goddamn tools, then you could just annihilate dozens of enemies, you know, almost with the snap of a finger. And this game is very similar. If you utilize all of the tools that they give you, which is quite a few, then you will never get touched in the game, and you will just dominate everybody, and you'll have very little issues. So, in that case, much like I played Ghost of Tsushima, I just started handicapping myself. I started being like, okay, I'm not just going to throw, 6 enemies every single time into spike walls and be done with it. I'm going to actually, fight them with melee and stuff like that. I think the melee combat is good. It's satisfying. I can see how people would think that it would get repetitive, but I think that it's really difficult to do a melee combat in a situation like this in a survival horror where it's not going to get repetitive. So I think it's really fun, honestly, and the shooting is very satisfying. If you want to play this game as a shooter, you can. You don't have to play it stealth. You don't have to play it melee. You don't have to play it with the kinesis. You don't have to play it with shooting. You can choose which playstyle suits you the best, and that's what I really like about it, is that these complaints about, oh my god, the melee is so bad. Ammo is really cheap. You can just spend your money upgrading your guns and upgrading your ammo and go through the game almost entirely shooting. That is completely feasible. So I don't really get that, and people are like, the stealth is bad. You don't have to stealth. I didn't stealth at all the entire game, and I was just beating ass and taking names, and it was really, really fun. So I think the gameplay is a big highlight. Is the game scary? It'll get you with some jump scares, It startled me several times. I'm not gonna say I'm having nightmares about this game tonight or anything like that. I'm pissing the bed like I was 3 years old again. Nothing like that. But I am going to say that it gave me a few startles, and overall, it's on the same scare level as Dead Space or Dead Space 2. If anything, I think I actually got startled more in this game than Dead Space and Dead Space 2, but it does have more jump scares, so that's probably why. But I don't think it's necessarily scary. I don't think Dead Space 1 and 2 are necessarily scary either. Overall, I really enjoyed the gameplay in all aspects. It's definitely one of those things where I can understand people's complaints with it, but if you don't like a certain playstyle, just don't use that playstyle and play how you want. And I think you'll have a lot more fun. And that's totally doable on normal, definitely doable on easy. I don't know about hard mode. Maybe you can't go through on maximum security, and shoot everybody and play that way, but, just don't play hard mode. That easy. In terms of the actual story of the game, it's serviceable. It's all right. It doesn't have the layers that Dead Space does. I mean, the beauty of Dead Space, the reason I read the novels and played all the games and read the fucking comics and stuff like that for Dead Space was because the world was so fascinating, especially unitology as a whole. The whole mechanics of how the religion kind of worked into the science, which kind of worked into the politics, which kind of worked into the military infrastructure. All of that is really eloquently done in Dead Space. A little heavy-handed sometimes, but for the most part, it's eloquently done. And it's a really fascinating universe and world as a result, especially with the sci-fi elements of planet cracking and stuff like that. It's really cool. This game does not quite have that, and I almost want to blame the fact that this was created as some sort of weird PUBG tie-in. So I'm interested to see where they're gonna go. There's a lot of cool shit that they can do in this world, and the game certainly leaves it open. So I'm interested to see what they're gonna do. They have some really cool hidden stuff that you can find, especially if you're reading the audio, reading the actual descriptions for people in the logs, and you're listening to audio logs and stuff like that. There's some cool stuff. But we'll have to see. It's definitely on Dead Space levels, but it's pretty damn good. And, fun factor, I think I really, really enjoyed the game. I solidly enjoyed it. I'm planning on doing many more playthroughs of it. And, I just think it's fun overall. I think the combat is extremely satisfying. It's visceral, it's gory, it's everything that you want from a game like this. Both the visual and the audio feedback is A1, AAA quality, some of the best that you'll see in video games, and I really, really liked all of it. But let's get into the cons, because the game certainly isn't perfect, and I don't want to make you think that it is. There are technical issues. Most definitely. There are glitches that are still happening as of, the 21st recording this. there's quite a few glitches. I'm not gonna lie and tell you that there isn't. Nothing that really broke the experience, but there was a few times where I would be attacking one enemy, a dude was really far away, and then all of a sudden I was just dead. Like, he would teleport over, attack me, and I was dead. That was a little weird. Sometimes you would grab dudes with grip and throw them, and there would just be nothing. Like, they would just be fine and just attacking you again instantly. Even when I had the fully upgraded damage, so I was throwing these dudes into walls, and it's supposed to do a lot, it would do nothing. I don't know if it's bugged or what. Even throwing them into other enemies, it would do practically nothing. So definitely don't waste your upgrade points on that, because it really did fucking nothing. And you could just one-shot them with the hazards anyway, so why bother? And I think that probably the biggest con of the game is the end. The end, I won't spoil anything, but the end is not very good. It's not terrible, but it's not good at all by any means, in any way, shape, or form. It's not good. And I do think another con is that you go through probably the majority of the game, like 6 hours of the game of my playtime, I was going through without the suit. And the reason why that sucks fat balls is because you only have 6 inventory slots without the suit. With the suit, I think you gain like 12. So you get way more. But as a result of having no inventory, if you want to be optimal, you're making so many trips. Like, I'm running to this room, I'm grabbing this stuff to sell, I'm running all the way back to the store, I'm selling it, I'm running back to the room, I'm grabbing more stuff to sell, I'm running back to the room, I'm selling it. I had to do so many trips, it was ridiculous, dude. So I think that you should get the suit significantly earlier into the game, or at least have a way to upgrade your fucking inventory space or something, because it's rough. 6 slots is rough, especially when you consider that 1 healing is going to take up a slot, 1 battery is going to take up a slot, only 12 bullets takes up a slot. So it's really rough when you're trying your best to just scrounge supplies and be optimal and get, like, because if you want to sell something, if you're picking up something to sell, then you're probably dropping something for it, like something actually useful, because there's no separate inventory. It's not like Resident Evil, right, where it's like you have a treasure inventory. And maybe they could do that, and that would help, is like add the energy converters and stuff like that. Stuff where its only purpose is to sell is in a different inventory. I think that could remedy it for sure. But as it is now, you spend actually the majority of the game without the suit, and that means you're just making so many trips back and forth places. It's really not fun when you've already fought all the enemies, and now you're just, you know, playing FedEx Simulator and delivering this stuff to the store. So I think that's a big con of the game as well. Overall, though, I really enjoyed the game. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and of course, I'm gonna be biased because I'm a Dead Space fanboy. You know, I absolutely love Dead Space to hell and back. Like I said, 800 plus hours in the series, and I love it. So when I see stuff like this game that's taking a chance, it's a new studio, it's from the original mind, you know, of Dead Space. There's so many homages and like callbacks to Dead Space in this game. Some people will find it cheap. Some people will call it like member berries, you know, like, hey, remember that level in Dead Space? I think it's fine since it's the first game. If they continue on with it, with, you know, Callisto Protocol 2 or whatever, I won't be a big fan of it, but I really liked all the references and stuff like that to Dead Space. And all in all, I really enjoyed the game, other than the end, and other than one of the boss enemies that you have to fight a few times, and other than the small inventory, and then the occasional glitch. I really liked the game. So all in all, for me, when you consider the fact that it's about a 10-hour game, probably for most people no replay value because New Game Plus isn't in the game till February, which is a retarded decision, and the harder difficulties aren't in the game till February either. And the game is $70 on PlayStation, $60 on PC. I think for the average person, this game would be like a 6 out of 10. I think it's a 6 out of 10 for like the average dude if you're buying it at full price, you know, $60 or $70 title, because it's a 10-hour game with no replay value, you know? Unless you're like me and you're going to do challenge runs and you're going to do speed runs and stuff like that, in which case then it has replay value, but I'm the minority there and I know it. So for like the average dude, I'd say 6 out of 10 for me. A 5 is average, a 6 is above average, 7 is good, 8 is great, 9 is amazing, and 10 is as close to perfection as you can get for me. However, for me, my rating for the game is, even with the price and everything, I love survival horror. I love it. It's my favorite genre of games, and we barely get anything that's actually decent, and this game is more than decent. It's quite good. That unfortunately was hit by a smear campaign and had a rough launch. Well, that part is true, but the actual grimaces about the game itself are not. So for me, this is a solid 8.5 out of 10 for me, dude. I'm not gonna lie. And like I said, 8 is great, 9 is amazing. I think this game's really great. I am super excited to start another playthrough of it, and several other playthroughs of it. And honestly, I just want to restart the game right now if I had the time to do it. I really, really, really like the game. Certainly in there for like top 5 of the year for me. I thoroughly enjoyed my time. And while I know for the average person, a $60 or $70 title is, you know, with 10 hours of gameplay and no replay value is not good, I'd say that if you're the average person, just wait a little while. You know, just wait a little while to pick it up. It's already, I checked on eBay, you can already get like PS5 copies for like $40, $45. So definitely check used if you're on console. I think if you're an average person, $30 for this title is definitely worth it, especially when you consider that there's going to be a free update in February that's going to give you New Game Plus and a harder difficulty. And then there's also going to be story DLC down the line. I think it's certainly going to be one of those games, much like a Dying Light 2 or something, where you pick it up down the line at like $30 and then the game's vastly improved. I mean, it's only been like 2 weeks since launch, and my experience was already vastly improved over day one, people. So just imagine if you're picking it up and you're playing it in a couple months, it's going to be a really good time. So if you're the average person, check for used and stuff like that. But if you're a Dead Space fan like me, you probably already bought the game. But I really liked it. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. I know this was a longer one. Sorry about that, but I had a lot to say about the game because people were just fucking lying about it. And I'll see all of you in the next video, or subscribe. Bye-bye.